Daily Dosers, Pastor Hans here. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Daily Dose. Hey, we are in the midst of a worship series that we are calling If God is Love. If God is Love. And so this week on the Daily Dose, we're talking about if God is love, how do we show that love to other people? Now, I want to talk today about kids because I think, honestly, if we're honest adults, sometimes it's hard for us as adults to relate to kids. I mean, even myself, I'm a parent of two boys. I've got a 5th grader and an 8th grader, and I love those boys dearly. But sometimes it's hard to relate to their world. Their world is very, very different than mine. And so today what I want to talk about and maybe give you a few tips is how is it that if God is love, how do we share that love specifically with the kids and the students in our lives? And I think it really boils down to one thing. There's one thing we can do, and it has nothing to do with the words we say, how eloquent we are, the number of Bible verses we've memorized. It actually has nothing to do with any of that. The way that we show the students, the teenagers, the kids in our lives that God loves them is that we show up consistently in their lives. We show up consistently in their lives. I learned a fact the other day about teenagers that blew my mind. Did you know that a teenager's brain is developing at the rate of a 2-year-old child? Their brain is developing as fast as it ever will develop in their teenage years. And so when we fail to show up consistently in their lives, those moments between the times we show up in their lives, they seem like years to students because their brain, it's growing and it's changing and they're learning at such a rapid rate. You want to make a significant impact on kids, you show up with consistency. And here's why. I want to give you 3 reasons why. First, when you show up consistently, it determines how you know them. How you know them. You see, you can't know a kid without being there consistently in their life. You might know them for a moment, but the next moment something happens on social media and it's ruined their life. Or the next moment they get cut from the baseball team, or they make the track team, or they make the all-state choir. You see, their lives are moving so fast. And so showing up consistently in their lives, you know what it does? It determines how well you know them. The second thing showing up consistently in their lives does is it builds trust. It builds credibility. You see, I don't know exactly what it's like to be a teenager, but I remember what it was like to be a teenager. And students, they can be fickle. One minute you're in the in crowd, and the next minute they're turning their back on you. One minute that you have a good relationship with your brother or sister or mom and dad, and the next minute something happens. World War III breaks out in your home. You see, showing up consistently builds trust. You gain credibility when you show up again and again and again in your kid's life. I wonder what that looks like in your home. Maybe if you're a parent, what does it look like to show up consistently and intentionally in your child's life? My wife and I often talk about this. We should be setting up date nights, whether it's weekly or monthly date nights, where each of us get to take our one kid out for a date. We should be doing that on a regular basis. Showing up consistently builds trust. It gains credibility. Reason number 3 we need to show up consistently in our kids' lives is this. It shapes how, well, this is the whole point. It shapes how our teenagers see God. You know, teenagers today, their lives are quite a bit different than maybe your life was growing up. The divorce rate today for parents is well over 50%. You see, what kids see on a consistent basis is relationships come and relationships go. One minute they're in a dating relationship with this boy or that girl. The next minute it's off. Man, these teenagers, they've lived through COVID. They're together with their friends, then they're not together with their friends. Sports are on and sports are off. You see, when you show up consistently in your kids' lives, it shows to them that your relationship is different than all the other relationships. And as someone who is a believer, someone who loves Jesus, by showing up consistently, you show them something about God. That this God isn't someone who's here 1 minute and gone the next minute, who's here when things are good, but when times are tough, this God is gone. You see, when you show up consistently in a student's life, you remind them that they have a God who's there in the highs and in the lows, who's there in the good times and the really hard times. In the book of Hebrews chapter 13, we hear these words. God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. In verse 8 of chapter 13, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You see, when you show up consistently in a kid's life, here's what you teach them. As someone who loves these kids and loves God, do you know what you show them? You show them that they have a God also, that they can count on, whatever comes their way. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Daily Dose today. I'd love if you gave us a little thumbs up. If you like what you heard, share it. Go to YouTube, hit the bell so you can get notifications. And if you're watching on cable, access 180 when. Hey, invite a friend to join you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.